Hello, and welcome to the Sportsnaut interview. I am your host, Evan Groat, and this week we're shifting our attention to the NFL as training camps are now underway across the league. And we're going to be talking specifically about one team, the Minnesota Vikings. They got a little bit of a quarterback battle going on right now during camp. And our guest this week, who's joining us here to help talk to us all about it, is Dustin Baker. He's the co-founder of VikesNow.com. And Dustin, we thank you so much for coming on with us today.
Absolutely. I want to point out it's probably the keynote quarterback battle in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like last year, we had Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson. I think this year is probably that. Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix would probably have something to say about it, but it seems like they're a little hampered right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're 100% right. So let's get into it. We've got Kyler Murray, who was brought in as a free agent this offseason, and you've got JJ McCarthy with the Vikings, who's a former first-round pick, and he's entering year 3, but he's only made 10 starts, has had a bit of the injury bug. They're in a bit of a heated battle right now. What can you tell us? What is the latest, and is there a front runner right now?
Yeah, Kyler Murray is the front runner, in my estimation, has been the front runner since the moment he signed, based on his resume experience, 7 years as a starter with the Cardinals. But even with the boots on the ground perspective, I think they started off pretty even the first 2 days. I mean, there's folks who track this stuff meticulously, like it's a real game. But the tide seemed to turn when fans showed up on August 1st. Murray had a wonderful showing over the weekend. I wouldn't say it's neck and neck. I would say that Murray is the front runner. But I'm also a little jaded because to me, Kevin O'Connell has to produce a playoff win because he's
Right.
going into year 5. And it's pretty rare that a coach gets to do that scot-free. So I believe that Murray gives the Vikings the best chance to win in 2026. And you don't necessarily have to trade McCarthy or anything like that if Murray is the victor of this battle, because McCarthy's under contract for 3 more seasons.
Yeah. Now, staying with Murray a little bit here, we know what he likes to do. He's an athletic quarterback, a little bit undersized, but he's mobile, likes to use his legs to make a lot of plays. Do you think that his skill set meshes with what the Vikings scheme wants to do on offense? How do you see him as a fit?
That was the one beef. Like when this rumor mill started to kick up almost in like December, when it was apparent that there may have been a soft benching in favor of Jacoby Brissett, the tea leaves started to align to say, hey, could this guy end up with the Vikings? And that was people's main grievance, was he's not a scheme fit. But he's already played under Cliff Kingsbury to me, and then Drew Petzig and Jonathan Gannon, who's more of a defensive mind. So he's already cycled through 2 head coaches. And while he might not be what you'd build in a lab for Kevin O'Connell's offense, I would trust Kevin O'Connell, who is, known as a whisperer to
Yeah.
quarterbacks, to tailor the offense around him. The only advantage that McCarthy has at all over Murray is his height. Like
Right.
Murray's not tall whatsoever, and then McCarthy's younger. I'll give him that. But other than that, every 17 starts, Kyler Murray throws about 3,900 passing yards, 600 rushing yards, and 30 total touchdowns. And that production doesn't grow on trees. So if you can manage that smaller stature, I don't think there's any major, like, oh my God, how's he going to fit within this offense? Because why would the Vikings have signed him?
Right.
If they were exploring all their options, they could have traded for Mac Jones. They could have signed Malik Willis. No, they got Kyler Murray for 1.3 million bucks. So I trust the guy who's supposed to be an offensive guru to tailor make his system
Yep.
so it fits Murray.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is one of the better situations Murray's been in too. When you think about the play caller, the weapons that are around him, I think he's set up for some success. Now, shifting over to McCarthy, what's your thoughts on this? Do you think that inside the organization there's a little bit of concern with McCarthy? We talked about how he's entering year 3. He's only made 10 starts, and as I pointed out at the top of the interview, he has dealt with some injuries, but
Mhm.
we just talked about you just talked about how O'Connell, a bit of a quarterback whisperer, if he should how can't get the best out of McCarthy and Murray does win this battle, what does that mean for the future of McCarthy? That's a tricky situation for a former first round pick. What's your take on that?
Yeah, McCarthy's going to have to decide if he accepts the QB2 demotion with grace or if he
Yeah.
wants to squawk and start somewhere fresh. Now, if he were to ask for a trade in like 3 weeks, he's really not going to get a QB1 audition. It'd be too late in the game this year
Right.
for that.
Right.
So he might be best served to save face and stay with the Vikings. But his one malfunction right now, like if he had played all 17 games last year and even struggled like Cam Moore did, and nobody cares, like I would say, you know what, we can leave Kyler Murray. He can go to the Jets or something. We need to stay committed to this guy. But I'm not kidding, my friend. Every Monday morning during the regular season, you had to wonder if McCarthy was going to report some type of soreness or
Mhm.
if he was going to miss a game. He had like 3 separate ailments. And this was never a knock on him at Michigan. Like the Vikings drafted him, I was like, hey, they got the guy who's durable and who's pretty clutch. And then all of a sudden these injuries show up. So you can't bank, for O'Connell's sake, your job security on somebody's like alleged fragility. Like consider this scenario: if they had not signed Kyler Murray and they just ran it back with Carson Wentz and JJ McCarthy, September hits, week 2, hey, JJ McCarthy's hurt, high ankle sprain again. We're going to look at each other and be like, what were we thinking? We knew this was going to happen. That's all this guy does is get hurt. So the only knock on McCarthy right now, in my estimation, because I still believe there's a good quarterback in there, is the injury history. I don't think you can leave it to chance to figure out if that is a theme or just bizarre things that happened to him last year.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see how that plays out here with the quarterbacks. Now, one of the other topics I think that is kind of hovering over Vikings training camp, and you alluded to it earlier, is the head coach Kevin O'Connell entering year 5, missed the playoffs last year, and he's had some success, gotten to the playoffs a couple of times, but still searching for that first playoff win. I don't want to use the word hot seat entering this season. Maybe you will, but I would say he's definitely under some pressure heading into the season. So just talk to us a little bit about the status of Kevin O'Connell as he enters year 5 with the Vikings.
He doesn't have those hot seat terms attached at this very moment because the
Yeah.
owners of the team fired the general manager and
Right.
not him at the end of January. That is a ringing endorsement, believe it or not. You hardly ever, and it hardly ever works to fire just one of the leadership duo. I'll
Mm-hmm.
point that out. But they chose O'Connell and they fired the guy who drafted JJ McCarthy. Through their actions, they have an out. If McCarthy doesn't work out, they could say, wait, Quasi drafted him. Like, we're good now with Kyler Murray. So where I'm at with Kevin O'Connell is, in any other circumstance, we'd be looking at each other and say, doesn't he have to win a playoff game here pretty
Right.
soon? I think he has leverage right now, or leeway, because Quasi was fired and he was not. But if we get to December and they're 6-6, 6-7, or something like that, you better believe there will be hot seat chatter. Like,
Yeah.
there is a very small number of head coaches who have gone beyond year number 5 without a playoff win. And I mean, you have to go deep into the annals of NFL history to find examples. So I think he's lucky right now that he's charismatic. His
Yeah.
team has the 5th best win percentage on his watch since he arrived in 2022. But at some point, you do have to win a playoff game. And I think that's probably this year. Now, if they get beat by the Eagles or the Rams in round 1 by a field goal, he's probably okay. But I can almost guarantee that if they don't win a playoff game in January, there's going to be substantial chirps that say, what are we doing? How long are we going to give this guy?
Yeah. Now we covered the quarterback battle. We talked a little bit about the head coach. What are some of the other noteworthy position battles out there going on at camp that Vikings fans should be keeping a close eye on?
There's a couple things I'd like to point out. So we're in a 7-month long limbo about Harrison Smith, who
Yeah.
is 37 years old. You would have thought when his 2 buddies, CJ Ham and Adam Thielen, retired, that he would have gone out with them, at least ceremonially, but he just hasn't said anything. So we're wondering, if he does not come back, who plays the other safety role next to Josh Metellus? Would it be Jay Ward, Theo Jackson? They signed Jamal Adams, but he's evidently a safety now. So safety is one to keep an eye on. They also drafted Miami's Jacoby Thomas. But the most urgent, I think, need that fans are looking at is the edge rusher position, because much to our chagrin, they traded Jonathan Greenard. Usually, teams who want to win the Super Bowl don't trade their best pass rusher during the draft. So right now it's Andrew Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner who are slated to start. But after that, it's like a bunch of UDFAs, like guys you probably don't know, like Bo Richter and Tyler Batty. So if something were to happen to Dallas Turner today at practice, we'd say, oh, okay, so Bo Richter's starting this year at OLB. Like, so there is this like, what are they going to do? Is it Jake Galladay? Are they going to use him as a hybrid right away? Are they going to convert Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who had tweener versatility coming out of Georgia? Otherwise, in free agency, you could sign somebody like Hassan Reddick or Von Miller. But usually the Vikings have 3 edge rushers that can play at a moment's notice. And right now, because of the Grenard trade, that's down to 2.
Yeah. So when you look at this roster as a whole, I know they've had a pretty good defense under Flores. Is the edge rusher position right now the biggest area of concern for you?
Yes, they transformed the defensive tackle spot by drafting Caleb Banks and Dominic Orange. Jalen Redmond is an undercover stud that the rest of the world really hasn't caught on to yet. And that used to be the team's weakness. Like we used to say, hey, you can sign a notable defensive tackle, not just these kind of turnstile guys. But then they flipped the script. They went and invested in the interior defensive line and I guess didn't want to pay Jonathan Greenard $25 million per year. So it's not that I think Van Ginkel and Turner are weaknesses. It's if one of those guys gets hurt, you're like, oh, what are we going to do? Normally, the Vikings would have a guy like DJ Wanham or Patrick Jones, somebody that you know can sack the quarterback in a situational, like third down situation. So I would say if you polled most of the Vikings fan base, it's wondering, don't we need one extra pass rusher that isn't just some UDFA that most casual NFL fans don't know?
Yeah, and I know I was on VikesNow.com myself, checking out the site, and I know you have a story up there right now about Dallas Turner, one of those edge rushers
Mm-hmm.
who may need to step up. Do you think he's ready to take on a larger role and make a bigger impact on the defense?
I do for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Vikings sold a mini version of the farm to get him in 2024 with a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They basically traded the guts of their 2025 draft class, like second, third, and fourth when it was all said and done to get him. And then because Grenard and Van Ginkel were too good, you had a champagne problem. Like, when are we going to play this guy? Like, we can't bench these two Pro Bowlers. So finally, Grenard is out of the way, which will pave the way for Turner to emerge. Last year, he had 8 sacks. He's really, really fast off the edge. He had 4 forced fumbles. So this is his grand audition to show the Vikings brass and show the world, is he a Pro Bowl caliber edge rusher or is he, just a decent starter? Because there is delineation there. I think he'll be just fine. And then Van Ginkel, he goes into a contract year and he's become a fan favorite since he arrived 2 off seasons ago.
Yeah, and the one other position that I wanted to ask you about and talk a little bit about in detail is the running back position. I know they had Mason and an aging Aaron Jones last season. What is that room shaping up like right now during camp?
I wish you wouldn't ask me this because this is my least favorite spot of the
Yeah,
Vikings roster. I have
yeah.
this theory, and I feel like a conspiracy theorist that if Kevin O'Connell ran the football at a balanced clip and didn't get in his former quarterback bag and throw the ball the moment they get down 3-0 on the scoreboard, this offense could be unlocked like we haven't seen before. But
Mhm.
I find myself every October and November looking at run call, like play call percentages and thinking, man, they rank 29th in the run, like even trying it. And when the efficiency is usually middle of the pack. So I was unenthused with their offseason maneuvers to just keep Aaron Jones. I do like Jordan Mason. They drafted Damon Claiborne in round 6. I mean,
Mhm.
he could be anywhere as good as Devon Achane, or he could be just another RB3 that you don't know about in 5 or
Right.
6 years. So I wish that they would have been more serious about running back because you had options like Travis Etienne or however we're saying his last name now. In the draft, you had Jonah Coleman, you had Mike Washington, but one by one, they just seemed content with this older combo. Now, thankfully, they went and got Frank Smith, who was the offensive coordinator from the Dolphins from the last
Mhm.
4 years.
Right.
He's now the assistant head coach. So there's a theory that maybe he could unlock the rookie Claiborne, but I will pound this table until it no longer applies. If Kevin O'Connell decided we're going to run the football at I'm not even asking to be a run first offense. I'm asking them to run the football at a top 15
Yeah.
frequency clip. You would see the passing game really open up. So I am not overly thrilled by only Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, but the team is. So I will trust it for the rest of the summer here.
All right, final one I have for you. I see Vegas has the Vikings season win total set at 8.5. So if you were a betting man, are you going over or under 8.5 with the Vikings in 2026?
This is really funny, Evan. This is the total they do every year. I thought it was a Kirk Cousins thing, because everybody thinks he just finishes 9-8 or 8-9 and then calls it a day. So I did my homework on this for a VikesNow article, and it's like the last 7 off seasons at this time on the calendar, they have an 8.5 over under win total. I think it'll be more. Go figure. That's because I watched the entirety of the 2024 season when checks notes. They were slated to have 8.5 wins. They won 14 because Sam Darnold cooked until the final 2 games. If Sam Darnold can cook in Minnesota, I'm pretty sure Kyler Murray can. The defense ranked number 3 per DVOA and APA per play last year. So the only thing that makes me go, ooh, I don't know, is the competition level in the NFC North. For most of my life, there's always some idiot team in the NFC North that you can just kick to the side. No, they're going to finish 5-12, beat them twice a year, and call it good. You don't have that anymore. Pound for pound, every NFC North team has an at least reasonable chance to get to the NFC Championship. So the strength of schedule is a little bit difficult. But with the introduction of Murray, we've already seen the blueprint in 2024 and Brian Flores' defense. I have the Vikings at about 11-6, and then hopefully, it'll be a log jam there between the Packers, Lions, and Bears. But hopefully that's good enough to translate to a postseason dub.
All right, 11-6 for the Vikings. That's Dustin Baker's prediction, co-founder of VikesNow.com. And Dustin, do us a favor. Do you got anything coming out here in the next couple of days that Vikings fans should be looking out for over at VikesNow.com?
Oh yeah, we got predictions. We're hitting the spot on the calendar where we usually roll out. Even though I just gave a spoiler for my win-loss prediction, we'll give individualized predictions about what we expect, and then just trying to cover every ounce of training camp, more than just hot takes, but getting into what really matters. Like Jordan Addison has not a contract year, but the year before they have to decide before they exercise his 5th-year option. So looking at how he could gel with Kyler Murray. So yeah, it's becoming prediction season, and we are only, I think, 5 weeks away to the date from the NFL opener. So everybody should start getting really excited.
Absolutely. Vikings fans, I encourage you to head over there to VikesNow.com. I was on there last night. Really, really great looking site. A lot of great content, a lot of great information. So head over there. Dustin Baker, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Take it easy.